What's up, gaming world? Welcome back to Short Pause's continuing coverage of E3 2018. I'm Ben. That's Brent. That's Frankie. You know who we are. The subject of our discussion this evening is Ubisoft. So Ubisoft finished up their traditional annual E3 press conference earlier today. And now we're here to react and talk about it. So let's get down to business, fellas. First and foremost, Just Dance 2019, the one we've all been waiting for. We can finally talk about it.
This is the only reason I gave the show an A+. Was this the drug-induced opening for the Ubisoft show? Just fantastic.
Yeah, you always tune into Ubisoft to see the drug-induced Just Dance section.
Oh my goodness.
So they came out with Just Dance 2019 coming this October. No surprise there. From there, though, we got into Beyond Good and Evil 2 with another spectacular cinematic trailer for this game. The trailer we saw last year was one of my favorite things that we saw in the entirety of E3. So I was really excited to see what they were going to show us this time with Beyond Good and Evil 2. And they got into a little bit more of the story. We actually saw Jade make her first appearance in the Beyond Good and Evil 2 universe as looking like a badass samurai at the end of this trailer. So it was pretty sweet how they unveiled her. This trailer was just sick, though. The animation and the whole style of it is really incredible. It took place in space. There's this big, huge, like Thanos style ship that came in at one point and tried to take over the ship that the characters are on. So it was a really cool trailer. They came on stage. They mentioned that there's a behind closed doors demo that they're going to be showing for the game at E3 this year. They started to show us some pre-alpha gameplay, but for whatever reason, the Ubisoft camera was in the rafters, so we didn't get to see. We didn't get to see any of it really. So you could kind of make out a couple things that were going on, but that was really irritating that they did that at that point. They did mention though, obviously the game is an action RPG. You can play it alone or in co-op, so I thought that was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They also announced their collaboration with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Hit Record. Hit Record company that he has. So it's something dedicated to the arts, like art, music. They're actually collaborating with their creators to create different pieces of art for the game. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool. So if you want to get involved with that, check out Hit Record or Record. What is
Record.
It? Hit Record. Hit Record. Check out Hit Record. But yeah, that's what we saw from Beyond Good and Evil 2. So we still seem to be quite a bit of ways from the release date. We're in pre-alpha at this point, so we don't know how far along the game is, but it seems like it's coming along. I'm glad that they unveiled it here and kind of let us know what's still going on with this game. What do you think about what we saw from Beyond Good and Evil, Frankie?
It looked really cool. I had a feeling, towards the end of that trailer when it started panning up to the character that walked in, I was like, oh, that's I couldn't remember her name, of course. So
yeah, I had a feeling that was Jade too. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that surprised me and I'm curious about is that the pig recognizes her. I don't remember the pig's name, but this is supposed to be a prequel to the other game. So granted, I don't have the knowledge of what happened in that first game or anything, but this is kind of telling us like they've known each other well before the events of this game and the game that we know them from. So very very interesting peaking trailer, honestly. Even the gameplay that we saw, they were kind of showcasing you flying around in this ship. And we saw like maybe 2 seconds of I don't know the character's name that we're playing as, but her landing and a little bit of combat. But so it looks like we're going to be out flying around doing all kinds of cool stuff. And again, like the thing that you were talking about before, probably last year even when we saw this game, is just like the tone of it. I love the tone that they seem to be going for, and that shined through in this trailer. So I'm very interested to see more of this game. Still going to be curious what the gameplay is going to entail exactly. Will there be a lot of ship combat? If so, that's awesome. I love me a good dogfighting game. So looking forward to hearing more of those. Very very good way for them to start the show after whatever the hell the acid trip they started with.
Yeah, they called it a space opera at one point. And,
yeah.
I don't have a lot of experience with Beyond Good and Evil either. I never played through the first game. Obviously, it's something that many people have spoken highly about over the years. it's something that I should give a whirl at some point. But yeah, just from the minute we saw the first trailer for this game, I've just been kind of enthralled with the characters and with this world. Just love the whole style of it, the whole environment, the whole tone, like you mentioned, Frankie. So yeah, I can't wait to see some more of this. Hopefully, we'll get maybe some hands-on impressions of the behind closed doors demo throughout the week here. Brent, would you take away from this reveal?
I'm you see everyone gets super excited for this game, Beyond Good and Evil. The crowd's going nuts. You got people on Twitter talking about it. I never played the first one, so I don't have that sense of, that same connection with the first game. But based on what we saw, I mean, it was disappointing that they panned away so damn far from the gameplay when they showed it on the video. I don't know if they uploaded the trailer, the actual gameplay, to their channel. Maybe you can actually watch the direct feed as opposed to the rafters shot. But it looked cool. It looked cool. And then the fact that you can play this game cooperatively, that always speaks to me. You can say, this game's this, and this, but if it's got cooperative elements to it, I'm down for it. Action RPG, which means it'll be a longer experience, a long game to go through. If I can play through that with friends, I'm totally on board. But, I mean, based on the cinematics, what we saw, it looked really, really cool. Looks like the type of game I would play. I just don't know anything about the franchise to get really super excited about. But co-op, that's speaking to me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I've never played the game before, but just every time we see something from this game, though, I just like this world. It's kind of draw me in with the stuff that they've put out there so far. So, so we will watch Beyond Good and Evil 2. We'll see what becomes of it. It seems like a late gen probably game for sure. Maybe late 2019 into 2020 when we'll finally see this thing finished and complete. From there, we saw Rainbow Six Siege. Guy just came out on stage, didn't show us anything. It was kind of a weird segment. He did mention that Siege now has 35 million players, which is incredible. 10 seasons, 40 operators, 19 maps in the game as of now. So obviously Ubisoft continues their dedication to that game. They showed us an esports documentary thing. Like I said, the whole thing was kind of weird. But yeah, 35 million players is extremely impressive for Rainbow Six Siege, especially after the rocky start that it got off to. And from there, we moved into Trials Rising. So Trials returning. Trials, obviously, an extremely fun franchise. The Fusion game that came out a few years back was a lot of fun. Just hit Plus not too long ago, so a lot of people getting into that one recently. With this one, not sure exactly what's going to change. And they mentioned it's going to be worldwide. You're going to be riding. There's going to be a heavy competitive element to this one. I mentioned some of the tutorial stuff in the game being developed in conjunction with some of like the top players of the game in the world. So that's kind of cool that they're bringing the community in on this to help with development. It's going to be a closed beta available. You can go to trialsgame.com to sign up for it. It's coming to PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch for the first time. So we'll have a Trials on the go. And releasing February 2019, because why not?
Ooh, yeah.
So, Frankie, what did you think of what we saw from Trials?
That's another one I was really excited to see. Big fan of Trials. Fusion was kind of my first foray into the franchise, and I loved the time I had spent with it. So the fact that this is coming out on the Switch makes me very happy, because that's the system I'm probably going to be playing a lot of for the foreseeable future. So I will definitely be grabbing it there. I got the sense this one's much more multiplayer focused, which I know they dabbled with a little bit with Fusion, but it wasn't, a primary focus. But this one too looks like they're really honing in on all the ridiculous crashes and, because obviously that comes with the territory with Trials. So I'm excited, dude. I love Trials. So that's the only beta I signed up for, hopefully. So I'm hoping I get into that one.
Yeah, the creative director actually, when he got up on stage, fell through the podium. So just to show us.
He rides a bike down the aisle, goes up on stage, trips and falls, and just destroys the podium. I thought, okay, we're focusing on the destruction again. Good.
Yeah, clearly that's a huge part of the game. Brent, have you played any of the Trials games over the years?
Oh yeah, I played Trials Fusion quite a bit. Trials Fusion is a fun ass game. It's a hard game.
Yeah.
It's not a game that I'm going to want to play on the Switch because it can be very frustrating, especially if you're in handheld mode. There's got to be a lot of precision there. And I mean, I like the Joy-Cons are serviceable, but this is one I want to play with a gamepad, like a regular gamepad. But the fact that it's going to be on the Switch to give people that option to play it on the go, that is cool. But these games are they're very challenging, but they're very fun. And like they talked about during the press conference, the joy from this game is mastering each level, mastering your bike, getting a feel for the controls, because when you do get that down, you feel like you've truly mastered something. It's very rewarding. So again, this looks like more of the same. I'm sure there'll be some cool, more competitive elements to it, but this looks like a Trials game, and that's all I really want to do is another Trials game. This looks rad.
Yeah, I mean, Trials is one of those just one more games. So
Yeah, exactly.
It's you're trying to go through there, get the 3 stars on the level, get the best times, get through the level flawlessly, all that kind of stuff. You die, you get right back into it, try again. So it's got a very addictive quality about it as many of those kinds of games do. So yeah, Trials Rising, I think you hit on it, Frankie. It looks like it's the main thing that's going to separate this one, the competitive aspect, and maybe even going all in on just the crazy kooky stuff that they're looking to put in this game. So moving on from there, we got into the Division 2. So obviously we saw the Division unveiled at Microsoft's presser last night, and we went a little bit deeper into it at the Ubisoft conference here. So once again, this game will be out in March. Is it 15th or 15th?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
March 15th. This game will be out. It's just a scant few weeks after Anthem, and seemingly every single game in Q1 comes out. So this game takes place 7 months after the first Division, we found out now. The virus is actually, they mentioned the smallpox virus that started the Division is kind of burning itself out now, and it's time for society to try to rebuild itself. And where the kind of the ground zero of this rebuilding effort is going to take place in Washington, D.C. So we saw a trailer for this, and now I always think it's interesting when Ubisoft it takes one of their Tom Clancy games and tries to reveal it with like a story trailer, because we know that when we play the game, the story is not going to be good and nobody's going to give a damn about it when it's all said and done. So they spent like 2 or 3 minutes with this cinematic trailer trying to make a show that they're going to have this impactful story that we're going to care about. But we all know when it all comes out, it's going to be full of cliched military jargon and just garbage characters.
Now, will it be an improvement over the writing in Ghost Recon Wildlands? I mean, I really hope so. It can't be worse than that, right?
I mean, yeah, you really can't go much lower than what we saw from Wildlands. So
Yeah.
I would hope that it's going to be they call it a compelling story-based campaign, and I put a big old question mark next to that. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. They did start to address some of the things that the community is curious about and that the community wanted to see change from the Division. So they came right out and started talking about the end game for the Division 2. So there will be these things called specializations at the end of the campaign, which are I don't know, they're almost like classes you get to pick and kind of level up at the end of the game. They each come with a specialized weapon that's associated with that specialization. So you'll get to add that to your loadout and use that throughout the end of the game. So it seems like an interesting way to spice up the end game there in terms of the grind, in terms of the just kind of something to shoot for as you're leveling up your character.
Mm-hmm.
They also confirmed 8-player raids. So this is something that we've been hearing rumors about for a little while now. So 8-player raids will be here in the Division 2 for the first time, and they spoke about their goal to just frequently update this game over the next few years. They outlined their first year of DLC content as well, which was interesting. But they have 3 DLCs planned for the first year of the game. They'll all come with new stories, new activities, new gear, all that kind of stuff, and they'll be completely free for everyone. So I thought that was obviously a big deal. We don't know what Anthem's approach to DLC is going to be. We know what Destiny's approach is. It is a paid DLC model, so it'll be curious to see what exactly is included in these pieces of DLC with the Division 2. You'll be able to register for the beta now, maybe. I think you can go over to the Division game or whatever the website is and check for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it'll load.
if it'll load, yeah. Good luck right now with E3 going on. And then they just talked about trying to refine all the systems from the Division 1. So the game's 20% bigger. It's almost a 1-to-1 recreation of Washington D.C. They've refined the combat, the way the mechanics and systems work, and all that kind of stuff. So much more information than we got from the Microsoft presser. A lot of interesting stuff in there. Brent, what sticks out to you? What'd you take away from this reveal?
I mean, it's obviously it's the 8-player raids that they mentioned. I mean, this is going to be a proper raid. I mean, the incursions were like kind of like mini raids. They weren't like anything like massive, from my understanding. But these are going to be proper raids. And you and I were talking about this earlier. 8 players is a lot. That's a lot of people in there. And we're kind of hoping that this isn't just going to be. We're hoping there's going to be this will be like an elaborate thing. Like I don't expect there to be massive puzzles like what we see in Destiny 2. This is still a military shooter, so I expect there to be more puzzle. won't say puzzles, but mechanics that are more that are puzzle based to kind of like get through a mission in a military style way. I hope it's not just, hey, we brought 8 people and the mission and every mechanic is just kill the guy, fight off hordes of people. Hopefully there's some cool mechanics in there to make it interesting, not just a bullet sponge every section you go into. So that's what I really want to see. I want to get the details on the raid. I believe they showed something after the press conference. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Yeah,
I don't know if they showed
it. It was a gameplay segment just from the game, just like we saw from
the
Microsoft presser. They didn't show the raid or anything like that.
Okay, so hopefully that's my biggest question. I mean, this sounds really good. Refining a lot of the mechanics in the game, stuff that people have been asking for, a new area to explore, a strong story. Hopefully, not getting my hopes up. But 8-player raids is definitely the thing that jumped out when they were talking about this stuff. Obviously, the free DLC is cool, but the 8-player raids, I want to know more about these raids. And I'm sure we'll find out closer to launch, but that was easily the standout for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious to see, and with those 8 players, Brent, it's hard enough to get 6 players together for like Destiny. When you have 8 players in the division, I'd imagine it'll be a matchmaking kind of thing. And at that point, it makes you wonder, like, how much would they really rely on people like teaming up with kind of random people and try to figure this kind of stuff out? So if I had to guess, I would just say this would be a gauntlet of super powered enemies that would include a number of bosses in there that are going to challenge your ability to kind of coordinate your attacks and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
More so than any other mechanical stuff, but we'll see when Ubisoft actually unveils it. So Franklin, by the time the Division 2 comes out, like we talked about, Destiny 2 will be in full throttle after its Forsaken update, and maybe 1 or even 2 of its DLC packs will be out. Anthem will be out and doing its thing. So by the time the Division comes out, it's going to be kind of the third horse in this race. And, one of the interesting things they announced at the conference there was this idea of their first year of DLC being completely free to its consumers. Do you think that's something that's going to help the Division stand out amongst the other kind of games in this space, or what do you think? What else stood out to you from this?
As far as standing out, yeah, you tell me you're gonna give me the entire first year of DLC expansions for free. Yeah, that's gonna definitely get me interested in your game. As far as where it ranks with everything else, I know Anthem is out soon, a couple weeks before that. With every other game in 2019 so far, but that was a joke. But I don't know. I like
22nd.
With yeah, basically it's what it is now. Just release your game on February 22nd. So, but the more I'm going through this, like, I love the gameplay of the Division, and while Anthem looks really cool, I just like looking at Metro, looking at Days Gone. These are games I know that I for sure want to get my hands on, and while Anthem looks great, I know for a fact that I love the gameplay of the Division, so I'm going to be going there. Because I know I'm just not gonna have the time in that point in the year to dedicate to, oh cool, I'm gonna pick up all these games and play a ton of Anthem and try and get these other ones done and then get really into the Division. I feel like between these, the Division's the easiest choice for me, and they kind of coming into today, I didn't have that mindset. I was very that on Anthem being the one I tried out, but the support that they're throwing behind it and them kind of more or less saying like, hey, look, we've learned a lot from how we did this, and it's some of the stuff we heard coming into Destiny 2 where they address some stuff and other things maybe not so much. But I feel like this time around that they're gonna kind of do it right with the Division. So I'm very excited about this game now.
Yeah, still a lot of questions about the Division, like how will the Dark Zone play into it? How will the story play out? The gear, like what exactly's changed in terms of the mechanics of the game? But yeah. I'm with you. I'm much more interested in the Division 2 after what we saw from the Ubisoft conference, even more so than what we saw from Microsoft yesterday. What we saw yesterday was kind of just more of the Division, but now that we have a little bit of a clearer picture of where they're going, definitely more interested to see where Ubisoft Massive goes with this. So we'll be on the lookout for that on March 15th. Moving on from there, we saw a brief segment with Mario and Rabbids. They played a musical number. Grant Kirkhope came out, directed a musical number set to the trailer for the Donkey Kong expansion, which comes out on June 26th, June 25th if you're a season pass holder. And then from there we got into Skull and Bones, which was honestly might have been one of the highlights of the entire conference. So we saw a cinematic trailer for the game, which looked really good. The character models are excellent in this game. The cinematic was really impressive looking. We saw, the I think it was the creative director came out, talked about this shared world that everybody's going to be in, where every encounter matters. We actually saw them getting ready for a mission, and get this, we saw customizable things on your ship that actually mattered. So we saw you choosing cannons based on different abilities that it gave your ship, and outfitting your hull, and all this customization stuff that legitimately changed the way that you played the game of Skull and Bones. And then we saw this pretty epic gameplay sequence that involved a mission, going to get some loot, and then getting attacked, and teaming up with other people, and then those people turning on you at the end. It was this whole crazy thing. And I think we're all in agreement here, but Skull and Bones honestly looks like what Sea of Thieves could be in terms of its potential. Like it looks like a game that has a meaningful purpose. It has loot that matters. It has customization that changes the way you play the game. It seemingly has a story. I believe there's a story to this game that we heard about previously. Yeah, but it looked like it from the cinematic trailer that there's stuff going on here. Incredibly beautiful. I mean, the trailer, the game's drop dead gorgeous. It's stunning in terms of the way it looks. We got a release window of 2019. We don't know exactly when. I'd guess that one's probably shooting for later in the year. You can also sign up for a chance to play early as well. But Franklin, what's your thoughts on Skull and Bones, man?
As I was watching this, everything that they were showing, I was just thinking to myself, this is what I wanted in Sea of Thieves. From, having customization pieces that actually matter, to seemingly a story. And even if not, like, I feel like the world that they're building feels like it's going to be more interesting to explore, because there will be stuff out there. And I don't know if this is an accurate thing I picked up on or not, but the way that they were describing like your PvE, PvP areas, it sounded like something that was similar to the Dead Zone for the Division. So, I know a lot of people were turned off on Sea of Thieves because of the nature of that game, because there's nothing else to do. So you're probably going to get attacked if you see another ship, because people are just bored and want something to do. But, this seems like if that's what you want to do, there's going to be a place in this game for you to do that. But I'm very excited about this. I'm glad this game was pushed to next year, honestly, just looking at everything coming for the rest of the year. But, as far as a pirate game experience goes, I think this is going to be like the defining one for me personally.
Yeah. Brent, what'd you think about Skull and Bones, man?
Man, this was easily, we saw a lot of good stuff at this show, but this was easily the highlight for myself. And you guys are right. I mean, this is what I still think Sea of Thieves, based on what we saw from Microsoft, I still think Sea of Thieves has a bright future if they continue to push content. But in terms of presentation and like selling you a game, this did it a lot better. I'm sorry. When Sea of Thieves was first revealed, we had that annoying crew of people just blabbering at each other. This one, we saw some intense combat. And we had a play-by-play guy that got me jacked watching the whole thing. I mean, he was hyped, calling this stuff out and seeing everything unfold. And I love the fact that, and it does have some similarity to Sea of Thieves. I think those comparisons are appropriate, because you're out in the ocean, okay, and you're like out in the ocean in Sea of Thieves. And if you want to do Megalodon, you can totally team up with other randoms who are around. If you're doing the mission in Skull and Bones and other people around, hey, bring them on board. Let's take down this big ship. So yes, there are comparisons. You're out in an open area. You can work together. You can attack others. There's just deeper stuff here. There's deeper ship customization. There's way more missions based on what we saw in this. I mean, you can go out and hunt Megalodon down, but we saw like a very elaborate mission here with different ways to approach it. I mean, when they first started the mission, you were going after a big frigate that had like a ton of like loot on it, and you had to get by a fortress that would have attacked them, but they went into like this like stealth mode, or not stealth mode, but they got they put guys on where like they dropped different sails that showed that they were a friendly ship, so they could get by that. And I'm sure you have to do something to earn that equipment, and that's awesome because it benefits you in combat. It allows you to avoid it if you don't want to get into a shootout with the fortress. So there's a lot of depth there in how they carried out the mission. Dude, some of the ramming effects, when they ended that thing, when they went for the ramming kill, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. So, I mean, look, I think the comparisons with the Sea of Thieves are apt. I think that's appropriate. Sea of Thieves still has potential, but in terms of presentation, showing me one thing and showing me another, in my opinion, Skull and Bones is way more appealing. but they both have a lot of potential. But Skull and Bones, man, that was just, for me, that was the highlight of the show. I thought that was incredible.
Yeah, that instance, it was almost, it was kind of like a public event almost. There was this like enemy vessel that's floating around, and it's like, all right, it's a high level, it's got some loot on it. Let's see if we can attack it. But to attack it, we're gonna need some help because we can't take this down solo. So there's some other people in the area. They sent out a signal or something, called them over. They got involved, and then they kind of took on this ship head on. And once they took it out, they didn't show us this part, but the announcer mentioned that they could turn on you at that point and try to take the loot for themselves. So there's the backstabbing pirate aspect to it as well, which is obviously a traditional part of pirate lore.
Got a comment in the comments here I want to present to you guys. Dark Shadow Wolf, he said, I don't know if y'all mentioned this, but just got here, but someone mentioned that Skull and Bones could be the next esport. I don't know, because I mean, from what we saw, I think esports stuff has to be more structured. One team versus another team, and in this, it seemed like it was more of an open instance, like an open world, and you're exploring stuff. So I don't know how you'd be able to. You probably have to be able to set up like custom matches for an esport, because I don't know if you can just wander around and stream and do an esport and just hope some other team shows up to battle. I think you got to have some structure, like a competitive element, like you would see in like Halo or Rainbow Six Siege.
If I'm not mistaken, when they announced the game, that was what they initially showcased, was just a multiplayer game. They kind of had like that death match. So
that's true.
If that's the case, I could see them if they have a mode where it's like a free for all, and you have like 5 or 6 ship crews in there. Like, yeah, I think there's the potential for it if that's in the game. Which from based on what we saw last year, I would assume that's what this game was initially. So I'm almost positive it got delayed because they're adding a story to it, right? Like that's.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's part of this whole deal.
Yeah, I could have sworn that's what they had said, but I see the potential there for it. This more than I think a lot of other games would lend itself well to esports, just because you're going to have like an entire crew there, all having to communicate and in a lot of ways do the kind of stuff that you're doing in Sea of Thieves, but on like this grand scale of, okay, holy crap, like. It just looks like something that's going to be a lot of fun. So,
yeah, I agree with you guys. I think it's definitely a possibility. And if they do have a mode like that that's dedicated to PvP, then maybe this could be something that finds an esports following, especially if the depth of the combat is anything builds on the potential that we saw in the reveal trailer here. This could be a really cool experience, and for me, that's kind of the thing with Skull and Bones. Whereas as we see at these, the stuff I'm missing from that game, the meaningful loot, the more actual gameplay in the game, like more things to do, more mechanics in the game, like all that stuff seems like it's in Skull and Bones, or like it's baked into the design of the game, whereas it's not yet with Sea of Thieves. And unless they go back and overhaul some of the systems in that game, like it's not something that's going to be added in the near future. So yeah, for me, Skull and Bone just seems like a much deeper experience with more gameplay, more just more everything that's going into it. So for me, that's kind of where I'm at on that. I'm excited to see more of it for sure. Frankie, you shaking your head? You all right over there?
Just going through release dates, and GameStop has Trials Rising pegged for February 19th.
Oh my God,
that's
great. That is that Tuesday, I do believe.
What?
So the 22nd is a Friday?
I believe so.
Is the world ending like at the end of February or something? What is going on?
It's is this the Red Dead effect? Because what we see here, we see a whole bunch of games in the first 2 weeks of October.
Yep. And
we see not a whole lot at the end of October or November or December yet. And then a whole bunch of stuff in February. It seems like people are literally just trying to get out of the way of this game.
Yep. 22nd is a Friday.
I feel like we're getting to the point where it's overkill now. Like, I understand
That's
Red Dead
way overkill.
Red Dead is going to do gangbusters no matter when a game comes out. But it just seems like everyone piling into the weeks before Red Dead, and then everyone just, okay, let's go back to work on February 22nd. Let's release it. It's very strange.
It's crazy, man. But yeah, Skull and Bone, thankfully, is not in February as of yet. It's just in 2019.
As of yet.
Just in 2019. Yeah.
Dark
2019.
Dark Shadow Wolf goes, keep in mind, most people get their tax returns if they file early. It's possible they could be planning around that. Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
that's what I'm going to have to do now, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be a hard sell for the wife. Yeah, honey, do you mind if we spend our tax returns on the 17 games that are coming out this week?
Ugh.
Yeah, yeah. So it's gonna be a fun Q1. So moving on from Skull and Bones, we saw another interesting segment here for Transference.
Yep.
So this is a game we saw. I believe the first time we saw it was last year. Very interesting looking psychological horror game. Almost we saw a little bit more from it today. First person exploration game, solving puzzles, shifting different perspectives by inhabiting the different consciousnesses of these family members.
Mhm.
And looks it's supposed to be disturbing and creepy, psychological. So very, very interesting. We saw Elijah Wood back on the stage, and they talked about kind of merging film with game development. Brent, this seems like something right up your alley, man. Would you take away from this?
Dude, after seeing Hereditary this weekend, I'm all about psychological horror,
How's
man.
it?
So
Psychological family horror, which seems
Yeah.
like this is gonna explore. So
hell yeah, no, this is right up my alley. Dude. I will try to play this through in VR. It looks terrifying. Some of the stuff we saw some very creepy imagery. I'm sure there's gonna be a story that's gonna drive home some of those points as well. So yeah, this is something I'm really looking forward to this fall, and I'm excited that it's coming out this fall. It's something I'm gonna stream, and I really want to dive into that because I love psychological stuff.
yeah, fall 2018 for Transference. It'll be playable in regular reality as well as virtual reality. So keep that in mind as well. Frankie, you interested in this one?
Yeah, this game looks really creepy. So
Yeah.
I
Very
watching that
creepy vibes.
trailer. I'm just watching that thing, going, oh my god, I can't let Jen see this. My god, she'll throw the VR headset right out the damn window. So it looks like
Yeah.
something for me to tackle in the dark alone with the headphones on.
The way
So,
it's meant to be played, dude.
exactly.
When they were in those hallways and that just, like shadowy kid was in the distance, I was getting
Yes.
some PT vibes a little bit in the
Yes.
they were moving through the hallway there.
Yep, the way the house
So-
was designed and making way through the
Yeah.
house. Oh, PT type of
Yeah, it had
experience in
that-
VR.
It had that red hue on it as well,
Yeah,
which
rest
just-
in
yeah,
peace
just-
for me.
Yeah, very, very creepy looking game. So yeah, we'll keep our eye on that one. Coming out this year, fall 2018.
Mhm.
Probably the first week of October if we had to guess. So
Yeah.
because why not? From there, we moved into Starlink, Battle for Atlas. So this is a interesting game we saw last year. It's the game where we attach the spaceship to your controller and you can put different things on it, almost in a Lego style. You put different guns on it. You can mod the game in real time, and it'll mod your ship in the actual game. So we learned a little bit more about Starlink. We saw some more about the modular starship. This is apparently an open world experience. It takes place 400 light years from Earth in the Atlas solar system or the Atlas galaxy. And then the big reveal at the end was that Star Fox is going to be a part of Starlink on the Nintendo Switch version of this game. Miyamoto was in the crowd. They gave him a custom replica of the R-Wing that you're going to attach to your Switch controller. And then you can pre-order the game now on Starlink.com. So Frankie, is this what it's going to take for us to get a good Star Fox game? We just got to give it to Ubisoft and have them throw it in their game.
Yeah, probably. I'll say though, while I was watching that initially, when I realized what it was, because I forgot we saw this last year, totally forgot about it.
Yeah.
But the second, I saw, oh, it's this. Okay, that's whatever. So I was playing on my phone, and then, I heard Fox, and I was like, oh my god, what? So that's what got me looking up at the screen, and I'm like, shit, I'm gonna buy this damn thing. It's like $75.
Oh man.
Idiot. But yeah, so now I'm very very interested in this game because of that.
It sounds like you're going to be the push that Bender needs because he's in the chat right now. He said, Star Fox almost makes me want to get Starlink on Switch. Almost. I think you'll be the decisive factor, Frankie.
Well,
Dude, I can.
Starlink
These
is
tests are for.
Starlink going to be coming out at a very, very busy time. I mean, October 16th, this game comes out right in the thick of like all the other stuff that's going on. That's not a great release window, I think, for that particular game, which could use some breathing room from some of this other stuff. I think Starlink might have been better as a December title, maybe even sometime in November. But yeah, it's literally. I mean, after E3's done, there's probably going to be 10, 15 games in the first 2 weeks of October, like big time
titles,
AAA
yeah,
games
yeah.
that people are going to be interested in, and Starlink, I feel like, is in danger of getting lost in the shuffle there. I do think it looks cool though. It's got some cool ideas, and obviously it's got Star Fox, so I think that'll carry it on the Nintendo side of things. But definitely the PS4, Xbox One version of the game in danger of getting lost in the shuffle there.
Mm-hmm.
From there we saw For Honor, so they showed us this new Marching Fire expansion, which looks really cool. That also coming out on October 16th. There's 4 new fighters, new faction, new content, new 4v4 multiplayer mode focused on Castle Siege called Breach. And then you can actually download the PC Starter Edition free on Uplay now through the 18th. So go ahead and check that out if you are interested in For Honor. The Crew 2, of course, releases June 29th. The open beta for PS4, Xbox One, and PC starts on the 21st. You can preload that now, actually, if you're interested in getting into it, so it's ready to go. And then from there, we closed out the show, not with Sam Fisher, not with Splinter Cell, but with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I thought had a really impressive showing. We saw a cinematic reveal trailer, Ancient Greece. This game looks just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the open world that they've created here, their depiction of ancient Greece, just looks stunning. Set in the wartime of ancient Greece, so you got Sparta versus Athens. It's been in development for the last 3 years, and they really hammered in this presentation that, look, Assassin's Creed is essentially like a full-on RPG at this point.
Yep.
Like, it's full-on like open-world RPG. So we saw a brief glimpse of some of the systems when they were playing through the gameplay segment there. There's 2 characters to choose from, Alexios and Cassandra. So you'll have 2 options to start the game with, and they actually really dove into this idea that the choices and the things that you do in the game are going to change the game. So this is a theme we've seen throughout E3 so far, but they have shown how you can lie to the person you're talking to, and that can change the way the game plays out. But yeah, there's different decisions you're going to be able to make, different dialogue choices you're going to make in the game. Very curious to see how much that changes the world of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. We saw a full gameplay sequence, looked beautiful. And then at the end of the trailer, it looked like almost like a minotaur was kind of in the shadows, coming out onto the scene to encounter the protagonist there. So that was one of the things I was curious about with this game, like how heavy would they lean into the supernatural like mythology of ancient Greece, and maybe seeing that minotaur at the end maybe gives us a little hint.
Yeah.
And then Assassin, it's coming out this year, October 5th. So Assassin's back on the annual release schedule. Frankie, you're our resident Assassin's Creed fan. Your thoughts on what we saw from Odyssey here?
Very beautiful looking game, and I'm very intrigued by to see how the whole RPG implementation goes as far as like these dialogue trees and how deep these consequences are actually going to be. So that looks cool. But the only other thing that was really cool I forgot was she was kind of riding out of that city, and that there was a mercenary that came after her. So that seemed like its own unique named character that was chasing after you. So those looked really cool, like those kind of like heat of the moment battles that you don't see coming. So that looks like it'll be pretty fun. But for me, just watching it, it's still that same awkward combat from Origins that I just could not get into at all. So like that's kind of having him and Han about it, especially looking at everything else coming out that day. I know I'm not going to touch Assassin's Creed out of streaming it for a hot second, but I don't know. Right now, it's a really tough sell for me.
Yeah, no, a lot of people like the changes that they've done with Origins. I haven't played it personally. I just watching the trailer, it didn't look awkward. Like, what's awkward about the combat for you, Frankie?
Maybe it's just because I'm used to traditional Assassin's Creed combat, which is basically just button mashing. But this one, it feels like a much more clunky Dark Souls combat scheme. So your combat's on the triggers now instead of mashing X or square, and it just the way that it flowed in the first, and at least in Origins, it just didn't. Parts of that system just did not feel like they were ready to go yet. Like I don't think blocking worked very well. Dodging was really awkward. Blocking on enemies, like just the camera pans felt really strange, and I just there was a lot of it that I could not for the life of me get into. I know Brent probably got a lot further in that game than I did.
Yeah. Yeah. So Brent, what did you think about what we saw from Odyssey? I tell you, man, I think my favorite part in the trailer was when we got into that kind of the end of the mission and that whole like war is going on with everybody's fighting out there, and then. You're you're hacking through some of these enemies, and then you kind of catch the glimpse of the guy you're after in the distance.
It's like Bane versus Batman in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, I was thinking of Val Kilmer and Willow when he spots that Viking dude. And they go at it. Finally, like these two mortal enemies clash swords. So you kind of see each other in the crowd, and then you go and battle each other. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think of Odyssey, man?
Yeah, I thought everything you said. I mean, it's a beautiful looking game. And Frankie makes a good point. I mean, going from the combat, from my understanding, from the previous Assassin's Creed to Origins is a big difference. And the thing is probably a little bit easier for me to grasp simply because I didn't spend any time with any of the Assassin's Creed games prior to Origins, any like meaningful time with it. I mean, I literally fired them up for a little bit. I was like, okay, I'm just still not feeling it, and so I never really got acclimated or used to those controls. So when I went into Origins, it was just a little bit easier for me to just adapt to it because I hadn't played a Creed game in a while. So that's probably why it's a little bit easier for myself to get into it and kind of wrap my head around it. But no, like you mentioned, that big battle area was epic. It was sweet, and I loved seriously how they kind of just picked each other up and said, "Okay, you look like a worthy adversary. Let's duke it out over here." And it was a sweet battle back and forth. You could see like there was different abilities that the enemy had, and the combat looked fluid from inside. I love slowdown. When you do parries and stuff like that, when you see that in the game, there was a lot of slowdown here and there during the combat. I thought that was really cool, like cinematic slowdown. So, no, this looks really, really good. But, dude, I still haven't finished Origins, and there is just way too many games coming out in October. This is going to be probably like a Black Friday sale or maybe January if I'm lucky. It's so hard right now to sit there and be like, I'm going to get this game, this game, this game, this game, this game. I can't do it in October, man. I can't do that anymore. So, Creed, Odyssey, as much as I want to jump into that, I have to be Origins first before I pick that up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Frankie, it's probably even even more jarring going into Origins coming off of Syndicate, which was almost like a full on like Batman style of combat, wasn't it? With the way you fought the enemies in that one. So yeah, obviously a much different system when you go into something like a plotting Dark Souls style of combat. But I've heard so many great things about Origins. Something I do want to play at some point, but yeah, it's just like when. So Odyssey is going to be a gigantic game as well, with I'm sure loads of DLC as all the Assassin's Creed games get. And yeah, there's just not enough time in the day to play all these games. It's just it's crazy. But yeah, so let's put a bow on this. I thought Ubisoft actually had a pretty strong show. There's a lot of really cool stuff that they showed in here that we have to look forward to. A lot of games on the docket. It was unfortunate that we didn't see Sam Fisher. We didn't see Watch Dogs 3, which a lot of people were hoping that were gonna appear here. Didn't see any of that stuff. They didn't have the just one more thing that they sometimes do at their shows. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a strong show. Frankie, what was your overall thoughts?
It was a very strong show. The stuff that they showed, it seemed like they had a lot of gameplay for everything, which I appreciate. I as much as I'm not really interested in playing the new Assassin's Creed game, it's still something I want to give a shot to, just because the setting is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Love ancient Greece, love the gods and everything about that era of time. So very, very curious about it. I'm probably gonna wait for that one to go on sale, because I can't justify grabbing it.
Mm-hmm.
Skull and Bones, man, like Brent said, that was kind of like the show stealer for me. I was intrigued by that game last year, and it seemed like something I'd want to play, but everything that I saw of it today had me, I definitely need to get this game. It seems like the pirate game that, I've been wanting to really get into since Assassin's Creed 4. Beyond Good and Evil, that trailer was really cool. Definitely had goosebumps when they revealed Jade. So even though I haven't played the game, I know enough about that world to be like, oh shit. So that looks awesome. The Division 2, the whole DLC plan is just insane. And for a game like that, I think that's a bold choice, considering, this is a game people like us, if we get if it gets its hooks into us, we're going to be there for hundreds and hundreds of hours. So knowing that we're going to have a lot of content to look forward to for free in that game, that's freaking awesome. I'm excited to actually try out The Crew 2. This is a game I'm not so sure I'm going to get, just because, they did do a demo for the first one, and it was okay, or not demo, beta, but, the driving mechanics weren't all that great. So it is a game I'm curious about. So I'm glad that, we're going to have a chance to try it out soon. But overall, this conference to me has been the best that we've seen so far this year.
Cool. Brent, your overall thoughts on what we saw from Ubisoft.
Really strong show. We've seen 3 strong shows now. I haven't seen EA. Sounds like I didn't miss much there. I didn't see Square outside of Tomb Raider and the new Platinum games. It doesn't sound like I missed much on that one. But from the ones I have seen, I mean, we've seen 3 really strong shows so far. Really enjoyed what I saw from Ubisoft. Skull and Bones, Trials Rising, Transference VR, and Division 2 were the highlights for myself. Beyond Good and Evil 2, like I said, I think it looks really cool. I just don't share the same excitement as other people have who have played the first game, but I am intrigued by it. The fact that it has cooperative elements was good. The Just Dance opening, again, just acid trip city, totally unnecessary, but I'm glad they have fun with it because, I will give them credit, man. Even though it's over the top, Ubisoft puts on an entertaining show. It's fun. Some of it can be a little cringy, but it's all in good spirit. Everyone's in a good mood. I love the hot mic issue that they had going on. I was waiting to hear somebody drop an F-bomb after they got off the stage. One guy was like, "I'm really sorry your entrance changed." The guy goes, "Yes, every day this week it changed." It was like, man, please drop an F-bomb, but it never happened. So, but overall, strong performance from Ubisoft. Really enjoyed what we saw, and that's 3 really strong shows in E3 now.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. I agree with everything you guys said there. So that is going to do it for us and Ubisoft. We've got to get ready for Sony. They're coming up in just over 30 minutes here. So we'll be back live with our live reactions to the Sony press conference and our wrap up afterwards. So make sure you come back, see us in 30 minutes, and yeah, let's go get that set up, fellas.
Yeah, buddy.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later.
We'll see you guys.
Yep.